A recent survey from AdvizorPro reveals that ETF adoption is on the rise. And according to the firm's second quarter ETF trends report, 58% of analysts are using more ETFs quarter over quarter. Well, joining me now with more is Michael Magnan. He's AdvizorPro's CEO. Michael, great to have you on the show this morning. Joining us from Atlanta, we like to see that. What more can you reveal about this report?
Yes, thanks for having me. So we track every quarter ETF holdings of about 5,000 RIAs. We see a lot of interesting things happening in this growing kind of industry within the RIA space. So one thing that's very clear is that the RIAs kind of use of ETFs continues to grow pretty significantly and very consistently, right? 58% of RIAs increase the number of ETFs that they're using, whereas less than 20% decreased. So, there's a lot of talk and expansion of very niche ETF strategies from both really large traditional institutional players as well as smaller emerging managers. And there's a plethora of selection for RIAs to leverage, including a lot of things that traditionally have been reserved for really high net worth individuals because they weren't packaged up in an ETF. With the growth of all this happening, we're seeing a lot more use of ETFs within the RIA world.
Interesting. And what are the benefits of ETFs versus other products that might be on the market?
Sure. So there's a number of benefits. The ones that people traditionally will talk about are the tax benefits, kind of the liquidity or ease of use. And as more strategies are being packaged into the vehicles, it's just allowing a lot more types of complex investment strategies to be used within kind of everybody's portfolio, no matter how large they are.
What kind of runway do you think this adoption has? Do you find that people surveyed are more keen to get into ETFs over time?
Yeah, that's interesting. So we work with a large number of ETF issuers and just asset managers in general. And there's kind of two ends to this spectrum from what we're seeing. Number one, we have the more institutionally traditional focused asset managers, right? Kind of household names a lot of times. And we're seeing kind of a little bit of a bifurcation in terms of their adoption or their kind of focus on the ETF space. Some have a very important strategic focus on this and have teams and resources pushing ETFs, right? Realizing that there's a lot of opportunity and potential here. Others are kind of tiptoeing into it and maybe having a tough time adjusting from other vehicles and focuses like mutual funds, for example, that can have higher fees, different distribution strategies, et cetera. We're kind of seeing two things happen at these really large asset managers on the institutional side. And on the other side, we're seeing a large number of, even a few years ago, they may have been non-existent asset managers who are either completely ETF or ETF focused, and they are launching strategies pretty quickly, right? There is a lot of adoption today. We see that in, for example, our report. There's extreme growth in the number of ETFs being leveraged. But also, one interesting thing that we found is that the top 10 growth ETFs in terms of number of RIAs adopting them versus one, the top 10 list was completely different, which means that it's kind of the wild, wild west, right? There's a lot of adoption happening. There's a lot of niche strategies from option-based to thematic to leveraged ETFs, and they're all kind of growing at the same time. So there's not a lot of clarity on who is to be like the winner, right? And I don't see that as like a zero-sum game. It's essentially the simple fact that there's so much overall adoption. Mm-hmm. So, where we are in the scale of things in the grand spectrum, I'm not sure, but I think it's pretty clear that we're not close to being saturated in terms of ETFs being leveraged in this way.
What are some of the most popular trends that you see when it comes to investment choices playing out in the ETF world right now?
Sure. So, some of the broader growth areas that we'll see it's a lot around defined outcome, option-based strategies, global bonds in Q2 saw a lot of adoption on the ETF side of things. So a lot of it kind of revolves around maybe these types of strategies that would traditionally be less available to a kind of more normal investor and a non-high net worth individual. But there's kind of growth that's really widely spread across the spectrum.
All right, Michael Magnan, AdvizorPro CEO. Michael, thank you so much for joining the show from Atlanta and sharing your findings.
Thank you.